Hello and welcome to MediaCast, the podcast series from Mediabrief.com, which features some excellent professionals who very smartly, strategically, tenaciously create great engagements in different kinds of media to empower their businesses, hence MediaCast. And today, I am delighted, particularly because my guest on this episode is a truly stellar, and I use that word very consciously, professional who is remarkable at creating engagements that empower businesses. Also, because I have the pleasure and privilege of counting him amongst my very dear friends over 3 decades now. So, please join me as I welcome Ashish Kaul, Chief Marketing Officer at Hero Realty Private Limited, the Hero Enterprise business which provides luxury living with honest pricing. Ashish, welcome to this episode of MediaCast and thank you ever so much for your time at the end of a working day.
Thank you so much, Pawan. It is such an honor. And above all, let's leave the honor part aside. It is such a pleasure and such a delightful moment for me to be able to see you and to be able to talk to somebody that we have known for about, as you said, about 3 decades. To me, this particular interaction is not about an interaction. It's about a journey back in time. A lot has happened in last 30 years. World has changed. So I really look forward to this.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much, Ashish. And, I also am really overcome, if I may use that word without sounding dramatic, but really, really wonderful to see you. It's been a very long time since the days when I first met you in the Z office and you were working directly with the president, and no less than the great visionary, someone for whom I have enormous and phenomenal respect, Subhash ji. So, well, that was in the past, and we will probably touch upon that if it comes back now in the course of this conversation. But thank you, Ashish, as I said, for your time. And thanks also to Adarsh Rai of Visage 11 and Venki, another dear friend, your strategic comms partner, So they made this interaction possible, Ashish. You're in very good comms hands, if I may say so. So, Ashish, I'm aware that Hero Realty is a company founded on the guiding principles of innovation, physical and mental health, environmental stewardship, and the improvement of local communities, empowerment of local communities. And we'll discuss that and the fact that Hero Realty is driven by a quest of innovative concepts and exceptional craftsmanship and care for ecology, and more. Because I'm really looking forward to this episode, which features an exceptional professional who heads marketing at a respected company, but one which still happens to be in a sector that is known more for shortcuts and jugaad and the thekedari shortcut mindset. But before we get there and into our discussion, Ashish, allow me to tell our viewers and listeners about you and whet their appetites about the conversation that will follow. So, Ashish, by your leave, here goes. My distinguished guest on this episode of MediaCast is Ashish Kaul, Chief Marketing Officer at Hero Realty India Private Limited. Ashish brings more than 30 years of diverse organizational experience, not only as a marketing leader, but also as a best-selling author with 6 multilingual books published by major Indian publishers. So, a great comms and business head driven by a heart beating for and with content. Amazing and unbeatable kind of a combination. So, Ashish stands out as one of the few professionals who has achieved success both professionally and personally. He's also a best-selling author, as I said, having written 6 multilingual books published by some of India's largest publishers. Ashish's book, Dida, the Warrior Queen of Kashmir, was launched by the iconic Amitabh Bachchan. Sorry, I can't do the voice, but it's an amazing thing to see that picture, and I think it's on his DP also on WhatsApp. And Ashish's works like Refugee Camp, Rakht Gulab garnered acclaim from Union INB and HRD Minister, while Stree Desh, the forgotten legendary woman of Kashmir, which he produced and he directed, that is Ashish himself, it earned recognition from the External Affairs Minister and the Minister for Cultural Affairs. Ashish's rich professional journey showcases his industry expertise, and he served as Group President for Z Network and SL Group, as I mentioned earlier, business head for Hinduja Group in film and media, and that brings to mind how I was blessed also to have worked with the amazing Mr. AP Hinduja for the launch of Hidden in the Sky Hits Next Digital in India. And Ashish has been business head for Bajaj Group in key MENA P markets and Group COO for News 24 and Bag Films. He was also the CEO of Prakash Jha Films. So, really wide, rich, deep experience across the spectrum of enterprise. Beyond awards, Ashish received the Man of Excellence Award 2020 for contributions to education, arts, and culture, and commendations from, hold your breath, the Honorable Prime Minister of India and also the Honorable Governor of Maharashtra. And these commendations and the awards that he's won, too many to mention here, they highlight his commitment to social service initiatives. He works with purpose for purpose. Academically accomplished, Ashish holds degrees in, let me count them out. I will have to probably use fingers of both hands. Degrees in business management, sociology, advertising, mass communications, hotel management. He's a senior fellow with CCRT, Government of India, Ministry of Culture. He also has a doctorate, right? We'll talk about that too. That's one of my questions. But he's not only, like I said, a marketing luminary, but also an influential voice as an advocacy columnist across leading publications like India Today, The Hindu, Bhaskar, HT, Business Standard, Amar Ujala, Daily Excelsior, and Fortune magazine, among others. So that's in brief about Ashish Kaul, CMO of Hero Realty, and my very special, my very dear guest, because he's also a wonderful friend, on this episode of MediaCast, the podcast series from Mediabrief.com. So, Ashish, welcome once again, and let's begin our conversation. So, Ashish, my first question, okay, answer this in brief. What is the overall size and state of the reality sector in India? Overall, okay? If you can recall some numbers briefly.
See, overall, let me put it this way, because most of this industry, a majority of this industry is still privately held. So those numbers dramatically vary. But then this is, in fact, the second largest GDP contributor to the country. I think, about 12% of GDP is contributed by real estate sector, which is largely unorganized. That's the travesty.
Tell us about the space in which Hero Realty operates, including its performance, growth, and future growth potential. Just a brief overview.
Sure. So Hero is a very different enterprise within the real estate companies. This is one of those very rare companies that works for a legacy. It's not about profits. It's not about anything else. But this is about living up to the enterprise, the spirit of the Munjal family. That is what drives the business. So therefore we are quite different from anybody else. While you would be hearing in the media that people are launching these 20 crore projects and 50,000 crore top lines, we are entirely different. The mandate is very clear, that we are catering to the home buyers who buy it for the first time. Can't go to those real estate players who say 50% cash mein chahiye. So this is ideally the principally a company which has thought that through, that this is going to be the core of my business. I want to give premium. I want to give luxury at an affordable price, which is what has been driving the business for us. So it is like when you buy a home with Hero, you're buying that legacy. You're not just buying brick and mortar. You're buying our legacy.
I remember very, very many years ago when I bought my first house on a loan. वो कहते हैं ना हिंदी में कि पहली बार घर खरीदते वक्त जो है पसीने की जगह खून बहता है.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल,
And
बिल्कुल।
it was really crazy. I mean, I didn't have all the money in the world to just throw at an estate agent and say, give me this project. It was crazy, and it was like running from pillar to post, hoping my money, my initial down payment was secure, and
Absolutely,
happy
it is.
that there
It
was
is.
a bank in
You're
the
so
middle.
right. I remember. You're reminding me. It took me 2 years to look for a house, because it is for an average Indian. You aspire. When you start working, what's your big dream? Your big dream is, I want to have I want to have a house of my own. That is what being an Indian is all about. We work our entire lives so that our parents worked the entire life so that they could put a roof over our head, which would be debt free. We in a way did the same thing and maybe a little more. But then this
Mm,
buying of home for an Indian, it's not about just four walls. It's your whole world within this world. It is that
correct.
sensitive, and we are quite sensitive to that emotion.
Really, I mean, it's the number three critical necessities in the Indian DNA, which is roti, kapda, or
Makan.
makan. Right. So it's for the first time buyers. These are beautiful projects placed in greenery, placed in the best of natural surroundings and spaces. And I have seen on your website some beautiful images of beautiful projects that have been completed. And they're not just this is a dummy representative building. You actually see constructed edifices and complete structures, right? I mean, in Hardwar and Mohali outside Chandigarh or beside Chandigarh. अभी तो चंडीगढ़ का हिस्सा बन गया है
That's
वो.
a tri-city now.
And there was, yeah. So beautiful stuff. And the best thing is that you are actually empowering people who are first time buyers and empowering them with uh, the respect and dignity of definitely sure shot owning a home once they have fulfilled their commitment in the process of buying one.
Yeah. So a few things that I wanted to add here, Pawan, especially from the Hero Realty perspective, which puts a lot of burden on our shoulders as well. Very responsible to do those things which we promise. For example, a simple thing like what kind of a facing will your buildings have so that maximum sunlight can come in, which is very important to save your energy. We think from that perspective, how do we bring down the energy bill by having those designs which are able to take in more of a sunlight. uh, we have a zero cash policy. Hero Realty, I can say, to the best of my knowledge, I have never ever, and so would you, have never met a real estate company that says no cash on the table, please. Not even a single penny. You know what is the biggest challenge for our sales teams? Our biggest challenge is that we largely operate in Punjab. Punjab is money, cash. They say, we want to buy, and we say, no, we don't want to do this business at all. It has to be digital money. It has to be white money. Nothing ever is taken in cash. We are happy to turn away business. We are happy to turn away business, but we will not accept a single penny in cash. That has been the ethos that runs across the company. Somewhere else you would say, are you crazy, you wanting to let go of business? Nahi, cash aane do bhai, cash chahiye. We say no cash, please. It is one of those very rare companies. I have not come across a company which tells your sales team no cash.
Wonderful, 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 really. And of course, the entire onus of ensuring that all titles, all deeds, all compliances with the regulatory, with the policy pronouncements by the government, etc., are all completely watertight and adhered to in letter and spirit by Hero Realty, right?
And
So,
when it comes to our due diligence, the mandate is very clear. We are happy to accept to absorb some more damages, if that is the right word. But when you buy a hero, you walk into our projects with your eyes closed, because we all of us, we believe that we work for the brand that has been created by the Munjal family, that has been built on certain values, certain principles. We all believe that we work towards that, so no, absolutely no compromises on that, which is why you buy
wonderful,
a hero.
wonderful. And the other day I was speaking to somebody from a Tata Group company, and I said, you're in the same boat, Ashish. I said, you as a CMO of a big Tata entity, you have it made. You don't have to ever talk about the wonderful respect that the brand commands in the marketplace. Similarly with Hero, right? So that's why your Hero homes from Hero Realty are popular, and and that's why I think you're growing also. I want to say this, I mean, you just listed so many beautiful things that you do, included in which are incurring additional expenses just to make sure that everything is completely above board and nothing kind of comes back to bite some buyer later, right, because of any lack of necessary diligence.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's perfection, frankly. But then, despite being a significant contributor to GDP, real estate often lacks brand trust.
Yeah.
Why is this the case?
I was on a very respectable panel recently, and we had all these
Hmm.
fancy, swanky brands and so-called professionals there, and they were talking
Hmm.
about the kind of stuff that they do, the modern age AIs and the stuff and the analysis and all of that. And when it came to me, I said, I'm really puzzled. All of you are doing such great work, brilliant work, and from what I've heard all of you saying, you guys are doing marvelous work. Can somebody answer that why do we rank at the bottom of trust? Nobody. There was pin drop
Hmm.
silence, because that is the fact. When it comes to real estate business, there is absolutely no trust. You might trust a shady dealer doing some other business, but when it comes to real estate guy, your heart will always be beating. पता नहीं ये घर कब मिलेगा, मिलेगा भी या नहीं मिलेगा, कितना लेट मिलेगा.
Hmm.
There is nothing but a list of negatives. And every morning when you open your newspapers, especially in the Delhi NCR market, luxury is the buzzword. Every I have never seen a project which is anything less than super luxury. So it is, the super is replaced by all those fancier, swankier adjectives. But everybody seems to be offering the best that the universe has to offer. Then why is it that there is no trust? Why is it that
Hmm.
project?
I think part of, sorry to interrupt, Ashish, but I think part of the answer lies in the fact that when I asked you about the size of the industry reality in India, the sector, you said that much, and my words, if not most, of it is in the uh, gray
Yes,
private
yes,
space,
yes.
not accounted for. So perhaps that is why. Because okay, I mean, an excellent Hero Realty or a Godrej or a Tata or other such Mahindra and other homes, etc., across are still a handful. They are not even the tip of the
Not
iceberg in India as far as
absolutely right.
reality is
You're
concerned.
so right.
वो जितना भी कर लें, you cannot do enough, because the point is, unless the practitioners in the unsort of tracked and unmeasured space can actually adhere to the kind of things that y'all are doing in your SOPs, you know.
Yeah, what has happened, Pawan, is that let us look at the very nature of business and the way it has been structured in the country, which is why it is still it doesn't have an industry status. Can you believe it? Now, why? You see, when you look at real estate, what is the nature? How is the business being structured? It is banao, becho, bago. You buy a piece of land, you put a building there, you sell it, you put the resident welfare association, and you're out of it. So you're traditionally not servicing the brand as an FMCG product or any other mass market product or any product which has a certain life cycle. Unfortunately, this particular industry, the way this industry has been structured, is very short term. You're not serving the brand at all. It is not like serving a motorcycle or serving any other brand which you are required to, it is obligatory on your part to service that brand till the life of that brand. Here the life cycle is so short that the whole mindset, and then who are the first generation businessmen in this? They were purely ठेकेदार. सो what was it कि हाँ हमने बिल्डिंग बनाया, हमको करना क्या है, बेचना है और निकलना है. So there has to be this vision which is today far and few. It's people like Hero, people like Godrej, people like Tatas who are born with that legacy. That vision is inherent, that is ingrained in their DNA, that no, I'm here because of my name, and whether I have a resident welfare association tomorrow, but it is still my name. It will, no matter what, no matter who runs it, it is, they are going to be carrying my name. So when my name is there, I will not let anything wrong happen. So which is what it just occurred to me, Pawan, that Mr. Munjal, he keeps on telling us that when you're dealing with the home buyer or a resident, think that you are dealing with me, and likewise the entire chain, that's how the entire chain travels. That he says, think of yourselves when you're dealing with him, think of you as you are the chairman of the company, you are dealing with him, and think of him also in the same light, that he is me. So it is, he says that think of them as us and we are them. So that's how,
Empathy
and
and put
almost
yourself.
we sometimes joke about this, that our the facility teams, they're under so much of stress because everybody says मैं तो मुंजाल साहब को जानता हूँ मैं मुंजाल साहब को जानता हूँ. That is how it
उनको
has,
कौन नहीं जानता.
that is how it has been. It has right from, I don't know, you possibly would have also interacted with Mr. BML, when he was actively handling the Hero. So he had this way with people. He was a guy who was never scared of any negativity. He would go out and he would talk to people, his distributors, and it has continued that way. Now, coming back to what we said earlier, unless there is a vision, you see, if I want to do this business and I want to say that I want to be in this business for next 50 years, this is what is going to be my game plan, and this is how I will service my brand. And therefore, you will automatically think of creating an organization that works accordingly, and then you will need a talent pool to service that brand.
Exactly. The strong, heavy regulation of the reality space. I think that it is probably done because this vision and this mindset that you're talking about has not at all even started coming up, forget fructifying, over the last 60, 70 years so far in India. It has not in the reality space, right? And that same mindset of maal kharido, maal becho or nikal lo, that is continuing. What about ring fencing the interests and safeguarding the interests of the end user? I think that's why these stringent regulatory norms are there, and I do respect them. And I think that really in a space as dangerous for the first buyer, for the man जिसने अपनी बीवी के गहने गिरवी रखे, जिसने कैसे भी किया, small, lower, or whatever, middle or upper middle class guy or a lady wants to buy something, and then they are at the whim and fancy or at the mercy of some unscrupulous real estate people. So I think it's important. So what is your view on that aspect?
You're absolutely right, which is what I'm saying, that in the we have had industries in India where there is minimal government intervention because they do
Correct,
fabulously
but
well.
this place needs it.
This place needs, because it has been mayhem. You see, especially if you see
Got it.
the northern part of the country, uh, it is continuously, you see one or the other guy is behind bars, somebody else is arrested
Mm.
for this fraud, that fraud.
Mm.
That is how the entire spectrum of real estate has been in the country, regrettably, unfortunately. But that is, I don't want to be sweet about it, but that's what it is. Now, why has
Mm.
that happened? And therefore, the need for regulatory mechanism, because ultimately
Mm.
the end user has suffered a lot. I think
Mm.
all of us have seen those regrettable visuals of people, doing dharnas outside various projects in Delhi NCR and down north and in the Noidas, where people have spent, they've been waiting for 10 years, for 15 years just to get a flat back, and that's their sweat. As you rightly said, it is to buy a home. It is your whole being is about buying a home, and
Absolutely. I completely
on
agree
one
with you.
hand, you're waiting for the home, and probably the guy is also paying his installments. And then, because
Mm.
he doesn't have a home, he's possibly in a rented accommodation, so he's also paying rent. So,
Correct.
of course,
Yeah, it's terrible,
uh,
which is why these government regulations
absolutely.
are
Which
truly
is which is
important and
where
very, very
I
vital.
feel it is the onus lies on us. The onus lies on
Yeah.
us. We have
Mm.
allowed this situation to arise. So I think that this, instead of looking a business opportunity कि मैं maximum पैसा कैसे इस sentiment को encash करूं,
Mm.
can we be serious about the responsibility of serving that sentiment?
So it's all about reputation, of the space. And you are one of the best reputation management people I know for a very long time. I have known for a very long time. So I am now going to rub my hands in glee and ask you the question about saying, okay, let's talk reputation management. What's your overarching view on it and how do you approach it, reputation management? And then we'll talk about your marketing of Hero Realty properties, Hero Homes, about your approach there, the media mixes, etc., etc. But first, how do you view reputation management today, as far as I'm aware, every, if not all, business owners and leaders and C suites are besotted and completely oppressed by the fear of their reputation kind of taking a nosedive and impacting their business in the most terrible way. So, what do you think about reputation management? Sounds like a naive question, but
No,
tell
not at
me.
all. I think, maybe, Pawan, maybe 20 years back or maybe 30 years back, the answer would have been very different. Unfortunately, I feel very disappointed looking at, the way people approach reputation today. It has become a subset of sales. So for everybody, reputation seems to be how much can you sell, without even going back to that panel and many such panels over a period of so many years now. They seem to be talking about reputation, they seem to be talking about brand, but actually they've been trying to figure out how to sell more. That is where I feel there's a very fine line that divides sales, and that divides trust, maybe reputation. To me, your reputation is a bond that you will service no matter what. It is not about anything else. It is about servicing that bond, that the moment you say this is who I am, it's a bond between your end consumer and you. How do you service that? To me, that is what your reputation, your image, and it defines, it creates that bedrock of how do you do business.
In fact, what you've told me is, as I see it, your stated KRAs for your teams across the spectrum, because reputation management is not just one department or one person's mandate. It's everybody's. It's how you behave and how you really do what you do, which gives you the shadow that falls positively or negatively a short or a great distance. And in any case, I mean, I just believe that a good, strong, positive, ever enhanced, ever growing, without the spikes and dips, rather spikes only, reputation is crucial, critical, and it definitely leads to sales,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
absolutely, and I think therefore I feel that reputation management is something that is a never ending process. It's
Absolutely,
always on
absolutely, absolutely.
continuously, because you're listening to what the world is saying, you're tracking yourself, you're looking at your performance, you're seeing what people are saying about you. Then you say, okay, what do? I go online, I measure, I use a Google Trends, I use a Google Sentiment, I use, you know Social Sprout and Hootsuite and this, that, and the other, and find out what is required. So I want to ask you now, when it comes to your marketing of Hero Reality properties, tell me about your approach. The media mixes used concerning TGs and properties, because essentially धंधा भी तो करना है, profit भी तो बनाना है ना?
Now,
Only when you make money and profits can you plow it back into bettering people's lives with bigger and better projects. So what are the media mixes, what are the target groups and properties, when how do you match them along with the objectives of each campaign? Anything that comes to mind?
no, Pawan, I think, over a period of time, I have realized that the most difficult thing in life, in managing business, is to be simple. And my approach has been pretty simple. Who do I represent?
Hmm.
I represent legacy. I'm very clear in my mind, which is why you will see, and you would have already seen that we are the least marketed company on the face of this planet. We are the least marketed company. And when I say that, do you know what is the time that we take to close our projects? The longest time that we have taken to do a complete sellout of a project is 6 hours.
6?
Yes, 6 hours is the time that we have taken to put a project in the market and get a closure on all the units that are available. 6 hours.
That's because of your reputation, that's because
Yes,
of your legacy, that's
that
because of your
is
commitment.
how we
Amazing.
service our legacy. That is how we service our legacy. Just to add to what you were already saying, in real estate, there seems to be this compartmentalized mindset that I am doing sales, So I am not responsible
Hmm.
for reputation management. I am doing HR. I am not responsible for reputation management. I am doing accounts. I am doing finance. I am not. Somehow, the good old
Hmm.
ideology of brand management has completely been forgotten. It has been whitewashed. Pawan, I'm
Hmm.
absolutely sure in while you occupied the complicated chairs that you did, you would have gotten up from your chair and you would have serviced an aggrieved consumer, irrespective of the department that was the originator of that grievance. That continues to drive me today. You know, the funny part within our
Correct.
heroes office is अगर कहीं से भी कोई aggrieved customer consumer कुछ भी आता है ना, they somehow अगर that HOD is unavailable for some reason, they just drive it to me because they know that he is the guy who, no matter वो complaint किसका है, he is the guy, he will take it upon himself to see that it is resolved.
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
that does not
That
happen
ownership
today.
is.
I'm little disappointed with this generation, and I honestly believe that this generation is more capable. This generation has far better, meticulous, intelligent tools available at their disposal. And
Hmm.
somehow I feel because of that, what they have done is they've created a shell around them. They've created a silo that this is the only thing that I will do. I will not do anything
Hmm.
more than that. I will simply, forward this to somewhere else. But somehow I think we are at a time where we have the best of the technology. Now, when I say best of the technology in comparison to what we had maybe 10 years ago, technology, as we all know now, redefines
You
itself
are
every.
preempting my question. You are preempting my next question.
See,
Right, Ashish. So you were just getting on to technology, and my question to you, my next one is that in the real estate sector, how has Martech influenced diversification and how has it shaped demand? Tell me about the scope and possibilities brought about by technology.
so, as we were discussing earlier, I think this is the best time technology has been knocking our doors now, and Martech, and but very honestly, I mean, I don't have to be cosmetic about it. They're still being used as tools कि बेचना कैसे है, जल्दी कैसे बेचते हैं, इससे बताओ इससे कितना बिकेगा, इससे कितना बिकेगा. It is not about,
Hmm.
I think Martech has to be a part of vision. It has to be part of the process. It has to be part of the way you do business. Martech should be able to service your brand in an efficient way, and therefore it will be able to get you better sales, get a better premium, sell it faster, sell it at a premium, because we are not, ultimately, as we agree that we need to make money also. So I
Yeah,
think
sure.
that part, that awareness is yet to come. That mindset needs to, they need to accept that, it has to be a part of the process. Martech or any technology now, artificial intelligence, the way it has erupted, I believe there is a lot what it can do more efficiently. You see,
Hmm.
at the end of a consumer grievance, somewhere you believe that there is a human error. Human error contributes significantly to a grievance. Okay. Now, an equation or an artificial intelligence is not
Hmm.
likely to make that mistake. So it is up to us that do we see technology as a threat, or do we see technology as an enabler for us to do business in a better, efficient, faster way.
Well said. Well said. I want to add something here, Ashish. What you just said about AI. Uh, look at Martech, look at the whole process, look at grievances, look at everything. I just am waiting for the day when AI can make Martech operate with a sensitivity to the context in which the person is being reached or is interacting with it. Once that sensitivity, like Mr. Munjal himself says, put yourself in his shoes, right? And imagine. So I'm just waiting for that day when sensitivity can come into AI, which will then make Martech work and operate and connect in a far more human or as far as possible way. So just think of that time because, like you said, the human error, the manner in which you reach out to people who come with any grievances, it is truly it's the human soul which is aggrieved and which needs an outreach. So yeah.
To add to what you were saying, Pavan, is that it is what you said. It is very easy to do that. It is not difficult at all, and it is not that it needs some scientific exploration. It is about
Mhm.
creating that kind of an algorithm, and it is about creating that kind of an interface. It is very simple. Why people have demonized it is because of the sense of insecurity that मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी. Are you getting my point?
Mm.
So it is not. I can, if there is a mandate to me that what is it that you can change, I would say I would change the entire back office. When you go to a broker, you always have this thing at the back of your mind कि ये मुझे कुछ बेच रहा है. Now, technology cannot do that. Technology will not do that. Technology will be very objective. And at the beginning of the product life cycle, when, for example, if you have to buy a home, you want very clear answers. What is the rate? Where is it located? What are the tech specs? How cost, loan, etc., etc. You want to be very clear. This is a stage. The first stage is where you have to be very objective. Okay, it is easily there is no rocket science there at all. The entire
Absolutely,
process can be
absolutely.
taken over by technology, and you see now this is where the errors. You remember the time when these guys would sell us, they still do, the insurance guys, वो बोलते कुछ थे और बाद में पता कुछ और चलता था, फाइन प्रिंट में कुछ और होता था. Technology will not do that. Technology will not cheat you. Unless you created a technology to cheat you, technology will not cheat you. You ask a
It's
question,
all
you
your
will get a
training,
right
correct?
answer. So I think technology can
Absolutely,
help you
absolutely.
if your vision is that I am committed to servicing my my consumer in the most ethical and the best possible way. Technology is your greatest friend.
Right. Lovely, Ashish. I'm really enjoying this conversation. And now let's come to the kind of housing demand, and you can speak from the perspective of Hero Homes, which have solid demand in Gurugram, Chandigarh, and Haridwar. And I've got these three cities here, these three locations here, because you have some wonderful projects out there. So, very quickly, very briefly, tell me about the kind of projects there, and tell me how have millennials become the driving force behind housing demand in these three locations. Tell me the reasons for this shift.
Yes, you see, in terms of locations, we have clearly focused that Punjab is where we want to be. We have projects, ongoing projects in Ludhiana. We have ongoing projects in Mohali. And on the other hand, we have projects in Haridwar in Uttarakhand. We have projects in Gurugram area. And we are continuously scouting for opportunities. But then, as I said, we are a very different company. We want to grow organically. We are looking at complementing our own strategies. Now, for example, if you're already in Gurgaon, it makes sense for you to grow, to make that
Hmm.
infrastructure that you have created, including the human capital, instead of replicating the whole thing at a different location. It makes sense grow in those areas. So that is how we are growing.
Hmm.
That is one part of it, and the second part is, of course, the millennials. We have chosen, as I said, as of now, we've chosen a significant majority of our business is focused on the first home buyer, which is the generation, whether you call it the millennials or zillennials or any generation, that will be the
Sure.
first home buyer. So one it is a difficult space to be in, because to create a home, it takes anywhere between 3 to 4 years, sometimes 5 years. But technology and your mindset today is outperforming every year. Back then, Pawan, we used to say that India changes every 10 years, and then in our lifetimes we have seen people say, and research says that India changes every 5 years. But I think today India changes every year. Who knows, maybe 5 years from now you could say that India changes every 2 quarters. Now infrastructure has to keep pace with that, which is where precast, I think, the whole key will lie. How fast can you deliver your projects? Because in real estate, it is not like putting a motorcycle on a chain and getting it out in maybe 24 hours. You can't do that here. How best can technology be used? How best can our knowledge of molecules, of polymers, be used to create
Hmm.
material which is beyond a cement and a steel? You see, Our
Hmm.
whole mindset is still stuck in cement and steel. But
Hmm.
is that the only thing that can create a home, a safe home?
Hmm.
No. Are we doing enough in terms of research and development? Other industries, the reason why other industries have really outperformed, whether it is steel, they invest heavily in research and development. How many of us do? We don't.
Hmm. Got it.
Whose
I mean,
responsibility is it? Whose
hmm.
responsibility is it to find environmental friendly material? Whose responsibility is it to find options where you can reduce a period of construction from 3 years to maybe a year and a half? Whose responsibility is this? Where are those
Hmm.
scientists? Are we working with those scientists? Now, for example, wood is a in India, because you see, in comparison to a Europe and India, there's huge difference. Our population itself, we contribute. I was telling to the erstwhile prince, who is now the king of Qatar, at one point of time. I said, we come from a country which we contribute an Australia to the world every year, and they all were laughing.
Right.
Now, tell me how the wood is to be used. At what rate? I mean, it is coming at a heavy cost. We are cutting our jungles. Our climate
Absolutely.
is changing. So,
Absolutely.
can we not look at maybe something like a bamboo? Imagine now you create a special project where you say that I am going to use bamboo now. For all my, I'll replace wood with bamboo. It is easier to grow,
Hmm.
faster to grow, much more economical. It has higher tensile strength. It is much more durable. But who is doing that? They're not doing that. So I think this industry, if it fixes its vision, long term vision, then it will realize that the responsibility of reducing this gestation from 3 plus to maybe a 2 and then eventually 1 also lies with us,
Yeah.
which is where automatically you will have profitability, because in the time that you were doing one project, you could do three.
I think you've given me a really exhaustive, deep dive look into what can be done, how things will and can change. What is changing is that female investors are building their real estate portfolios pretty strongly nowadays. So, tell me a little bit about that from your experience with Hero Homes from Hero Realty
Oh, of course, women are a integral part of our consumer portfolio, and as I said,
and your workforce also. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
see, it is what happens is when you're going through the process of identifying a home, we fortunately rank right at the top. Now, the moment you do the listing, it puts you right at the top. It puts you right at least the first two, whether it is Tatas, and you will have us and Tatas and maybe a Godrej. So, the listing world will come down to, it'll throw these three results. It'll throw a Hero, it'll throw a Tata, and maybe a Godrej, or, those guys will come right up front. So, whether you have a woman who is actually working, or a woman as an major influencer, but I'd like to believe, and I'm pretty sure about it, that more than 50% of our portfolio is driven by women buyer, who may actually not be writing the check, but they are the ones who influence. You see, very interestingly, what happens is, when you and I are buying a car, we don't think of so many things. When you're buying a home, a woman is a prime influencer. You know why? The first thing that will come to her mind is, मेरे बच्चों का स्कूल कहाँ होगा, right? हॉस्पिटल कहाँ होगा, बाजार कितनी दूर होगा. All of us, we say कि अच्छा, अपने को क्या करना है, बाइक में किक मारा, निकल पड़े. Absolutely, it is, you see, it is what we do as entrepreneurs. We just put brick and mortar structures together. It is eventually the woman who fills in that last block. She converts that brick and mortar into a home. It is the spirit of a woman who creates a home out of a brick and mortar structure. Unfortunately,
and
to preempt your other part of the question, I think.
no, no. So I want to summarize this and
Okay.
conclude this. So you said about 50% of the influencers or
Or
buy
buyer.
decision influencers stroke buyers
Yes.
are women. Okay. Now the next question. Okay. I think Hero Realty has seen a notable shift in the space of reality. with more than 35% of its employees being women. So how did this change occur, and what benefits has the company experienced? And I'm talking about the unfortunate poor women who are laborers at construction sites. They are nearly the same number as men, but in a corporate, in a good, in a very good ethical and properly functioning entity in reality like Hero Homes from Hero Realty Private Limited. Tell me, how did this change occur? You've got more than 35% of employees which are women. What are the strengths that the women bring to your system?
It is inevitable. We are at 35%. I think we are still low. Industry is far low. Industry is far low. If we are at 35, we are probably among the top two to have that kind of a
Hmm.
ratio. Industry is abysmally low. But I would like to work in an environment where this ratio is at least 75 to 80%, because that is the nature of our business. It is not a part of a male DNA to think of the things that are associated with a home that have to be right and that can be wrong. हम लोग क्या सोचते हैं, हम सोचते हैं कि अरे हमारे लिए हर चीज का शॉर्टकट क्या है, मेल के लिए बाइक में किक मारी चल पड़े, कार की वो स्टार्ट की चल पड़े, ओला उबर बुलाया चल पड़े, हमारे लिए वो एक.
बिल्कुल
But
ठीक.
a woman does not think
बिल्कुल
like
ठीक.
that. The funny part is, I will be killed for it. But while I was inducting, and I went to one of our sites in, I think it
Hmm.
was Ludhiana, and I chose to stay in the guest house, and I opened the window in the morning, and I saw a building, a structure outside, and I called the caretaker. I said, "Ye, which play school is this?" He looked at me. He said, "Sir, wo clubhouse hai." And the whole color palette was like, it was a play school.
Nice, bright.
That tells you the difference between the aesthetics, that the approach to whole aesthetics. So I believe right from your design team should be led by women. Your project management should be led by women. Your workforce should be reduced. One area where I want to see reduction of workforce is in the labor category. That is not a healthy sign for a society. That means as a society we are failing. That means we are not. That tells us that we are putting our women at risk, because it is not about just emotion. It is about physicality of it also. It is about when a
Absolutely.
when a man and a woman both are at a site and they have a child, the child suffers. Eventually it is the future of this country that is suffering. So I would want to see a reduction of labor force where women don't have to work. At the same time, in the project management, in designing, at least, even in finance and accounts, it should entirely be women oriented.
I know, I'm aware of the amazing strengths and qualities that women bring to the work table, but tell me in your words, what do you think are the most important strengths and great qualities that they bring?
They're better managers. They can work under stress a lot more than we believe. There seems to be this impression that we have created, that women are very sensitive, and they will break under pressure. No, I mean, see, today media and entertainment is the most ruthless, most cruel industry. It is driven by
Yes.
women. It is entirely driven by women. Right from technicians to great directors today, it is driven by women. And it's a thankless
Hmm.
job at the end of it. You have no life and you're working 24. The beautiful facade and all that is fine. The people see the end product, but people don't see the run up to what happens, when you would create those shows and those programs, and mind boggling, those 36 hours straight shifts and acting like zombies and still delivering a great project. So,
Tell me about it.
I think it is just male insecurity that we like to be. And two more
So
things
I
I want
totally
to add,
agree with you.
Pavan, that in my journey, what I've also noticed is that women have two very important, among many other things, two important elements to their genetic system. One, they're inherently honest. Two, they have great sense of empathy. It is not about, I'm not talking about sympathy. It is empathy. What happens is that I have noticed that when you have a male recruiter, the mandate is very simple. You want to hire rough and tough guys who will not have time for family. And then you want to have an organization that talks about family and work balance. How is it possible? It is when you have a woman, she will empathize because she is the one who is driving the family.
Hmm.
So it can only empathy and honesty. These two inherently exist in a woman.
So let's turn to your books, Ashish. Okay, particularly those with Bollywood interest, they reflect a deep understanding of Kashmir. So, with your surname, people will know that that's where you come from, that beautiful place. That's why you are still red.
No.
एकदम लाल हो कश्मीरी सेब के जैसे.
No, that is
But
the
can you
stress of
share
being in your
insights
show.
into the research? No, sorry, what did you say?
I said that is the stress of being on your show. I have to do my best.
Oh Lord. Good God. Oh, so you do wish that a more sensitive woman were interviewing you. Sorry about that. But can you share insights, Ashish, into the research and incidents involved in writing your books? Because they stem from within. They are not written for effect. कि यार एक मेरे पास time है 3 महीने का 6 महीने का. Let me put together a book and a screenplay and throw it out and maybe sell it as a script. You actually invest your heart and your consciousness. And I think the length, width and breadth of your experiences, they spring at you from your books. So tell me, how do you go about writing a book, and these 6 books that you've written, which has been closest to your heart? A little something about that particular book.
I am not a writer at all, and neither do I claim to be a writer at all. Whatever I have done is, there was a moment in my life when I had never thought of writing stuff. Being an advocacy columnist is different, and you writing for your profession is entirely different. I was taking this flight. My uncle, there was a death in my family, and my daughter went to Kashmir for the. We went to Jammu, not Kashmir, for the first time, and our flight back from Jammu to Bombay had to come via Srinagar. So when we
Hmm.
landed there, and of course, my reaction, I was 16 or 17 when I left Kashmir in the middle of the night with just 2 bags. We were rescued by the Indian Army, grateful to them forever. Otherwise, we would not have been alive, and I would not have been here. Uh, my reaction to Kashmir is always very different. And when my daughter, and she was always sort of, because she's a typical, she thinks of herself as a Marathi, and she always has these conversations with me that, why are you guys so emotional about Kashmir? See, people are dying every day, and of course, that's the
Hmm.
child. He says, why would anybody want to be connected to a land where there is so much of bloodshed and all that? You don't have those answers. There's no right answer for that. And when she flew over Srinagar, and she was looking at how it looks from the top, and she said, and she had a question for me, and I think she was 8 that time. She said, Papa, we are Kashmiris. I said, yes. Kashmir is so beautiful. I said, yes. Then I was not ready for the third question. Then why don't we live here? So instinctively, my answer could have been, we were terrorized, we were brutally massacred, we are a minuscule minority. Terrorists came, they saw us as guinea pigs, they killed us, and there was no other option for us to leave. We were driven out. I didn't say that because I thought it would be unfair for me to paint an 8-year-old's mind with that kind of an answer. And then I felt instinctively that there are almost 500,000 other children of her age who do not know of Kashmir, but they are basically Kashmiris, but they don't know what happened.
Hmm.
They're hearing,
Hmm.
they're forming their views on Kashmir from the people who are screaming their lungs out on these news channels, which is not correct. So then
Correct.
I thought that perhaps I should do something. That is how my first book happened, which was called Refugee Camp, and
Okay.
it was forwarded by the chief of the army staff, who writes in that I've been army commander in Kashmir. I was ambushed and I'm lucky to survive. But after reading your book, I realized there is so much about Kashmir that even I did not know. It became the
Wow.
first book on Kashmir, on terrorism, where Pakistan is an important constituent in that terrorism, which was appreciated, and it was championed by one of the largest icons of Pakistan, Hassan Jahangir, वो जिसका गाना हम लोग चुराते रहते हैं, हवा हवा है हवा खुशबू लुटा दे.
Hmm,
So
hmm, hmm, hmm,
he has there is a quote from him which is documented in the book, And he says that, this is one book that both people of India and Pakistan must read, and they will realize that peace is the
Wonderful.
only option.
How much time did it take?
It took about a year for me to do that. It took an entire year. And, people like us always say this time can't. But I have believed, honestly, hold this against me if you feel I say otherwise. I have believed that one book taught me that if there is something that is close to your heart, if there is one thing that you want to change in the society, you will always find time for that. If you do not intend to do that, then you will never have time for that. And Pawan, one ability that I had is to sleep very less. I hardly sleep for 4 hours. I put that to use instead of watching television and the stuff I did. I put that to use.
Mm.
So I've been in office in the day, and in the night I did that. So that is how my first book happened. It was the first book that almost sold out 3 times in a single day. It still continues to be one
Wonderful.
of the most expensive hardcovers to have been sold, and it
Beautiful.
continues to get me
Excellent.
a lot of honor.
Excellent.
It was the first book that, and you know how sad to say this, but you know how this whole entire spectrum has dramatically been commercialized. Uh, I
Mm.
never had to spend even a single penny for the kind of admiration, for the kind of respect, for the kind of love that people who reviewed the book showed to me. I
Fully,
never had to
fully
tell
welcome.
anybody, please do me a favor, please review my book.
In my post about this MediaCast episode, I'm going to give links to all your 6 books.
Thank
People
you.
can go
Thank
and buy them from Amazon. Wonderful. Last question, Ashish. Many may not know about your doctoral degree, your doctorate that you earned. So, did your passion for writing and historical exploration influence your pursuit of this degree? I see the perennial explorer. It's like, Tennyson wrote about Ulysses saying that yet all experience is an arch where through gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever.
you.
I see you there.
Very few people know that. Grant me a little more time to answer that the way I would like to. I would like people to know that. Uh,
Please go ahead.
so what happened was, when I did my first book, when I did Refugee Camp, and that really opened my mind that what is the problem with Kashmir, and what is the problem, not forget about Kashmir, what is the problem with this country, and what is the problem with this part of the world. Half our population is of women. Where are they? They are always like this. They are always seeking. They're never like this. Now, I come from a family, or I come from a society which, in a way, is truly matriarchal. All our decisions are taken by family. It is not like South, where men are absent and therefore women are taking decisions. In our society, the kind of childhood I've had, women have always had an important and often decisive say in all the matters. My parents spent more in my sister's education. You will
Wow.
find a Kashmiri Pandit woman who could be in the kitchen by choice, but she would perhaps be a doctorate. She would have been an MBA. She would have been an engineer. She chooses to do what she does. And that is the kind of society culture I come from. It took me a migration to see that women in India are highly marginalized, and they're treated very, very unfairly. And I realized that the problem is with our education system. It is that there is absolute dearth of women role models.
Hmm.
Tell me, when we think of bravery, what do we think of? We think of Indian Army. Do we think of women? No. But do you know, Pavan, world's first organized army had nothing to do with men. It was creation of an Indian woman. When we think of pinnacle of bravery, we think of our special forces, the Udi airstrikes and all. Do we think of women? No. But Pavan, world's first counterintelligence force was creation of a woman. Men had nothing to do with it. Do you know world's greatest war strategy, guerrilla warfare? It is the greatest war strategy ever. Had nothing to do with men. It was creation of a woman. World's first diplomat, world's first experiment in taxation was done by a woman. Men had nothing to do with it. Pawan, do you know world's first cooperative bank was creation of a woman? It had nothing to do with men. And Pawan, the greatest of public distribution system in the world which exists in India had nothing to do with men. It was creation of a woman. World's first paid army was creation of a woman. Where are women in this country? And to that
Wow.
extent, I felt that I need to bring these role models, which are not women who created a tap somewhere, or a built a
Mm.
road, or built an orphanage, or built a hospital. No, Pavan,
Mm.
the greatest fundamentals on which the modern world works today were creation of Indian women. Men had no role to play. Where are women?
Wonderful.
So
What
therefore,
is the topic of your dissertation?
that I will come to that. So before that, what I
Okay.
my
Okay. Mm.
biggest project
Mm.
was Project Stridesh. Stridesh is a project. I wanted to put that in perspective. It was a project that is the first research project validated by the government of India, which gives credence and validates the existence of 13 women who created fundamentals on which the modern world works. It is not about India. It is about world in general. All that credit was taken by the West. Unfortunately, the irony is it did not went to the Western women. Men also took the credit from there, but they were all creations of Indian women. So Project Stridesh is a project which is very close to my heart, and my mission is to create 13 independent films and 13 independent books on the lives of all those. It is a research monograph. Huh? So Dida, the warrior queen of Kashmir, was one of the women among those women of Sridesh. It is the story. Why that was closer to my heart is because it is the biggest story of women empowerment in the whole world. It is a story of a girl child who was abandoned by her parents because she was born disabled. And this is the
Mm.
girl who created world's first counterintelligence mechanism. She created world's first the commando force. She was the one who created an army that defeated Mahmud Ghazni not once but twice. By therefore creating the foundation on which the concept of Akhand Bharat was based. For 52 years, she ruled the Indian borders, and no, and India, this concept of Sone ki Chidiya, back in the 10th century, it was courtesy, a woman who sacrificed her whole life on a border, and to think of it, that woman was abandoned by her parents because she was born disabled. So the very foundation on which we stand today was the foundation which came at the peril of a girl who sacrificed her whole life because the world told her that you are incapable, you are a disabled girl. But she, on her own merit, she became the bravest, the greatest woman who ever walked this earth. So, that has
Wonderful.
been the focus of my work.
I'm actually going to make another episode with you, record another one later
Sure.
on these 13 amazing
That
women.
is where, that is where the challenge came. And before I did this, the challenge was, you see, Indians are very passionate about their history. But in
Hmm.
an informed world, a passionate discourse is not good enough. It needs to be prescription. Like, Pawan, you and I can know sar mein dard hai to ye kha sakte hain. But legally, we are not supposed to give an opinion. Unless you are an MBBS, your opinion has no value on any disease, on any illness. We can say,
Hmm.
but it would be foolish for anybody to take our view, so to say, unless you are an MBBS doctor. And I realized for me to not be slaughtered as somebody who's passionate about history, when I say something, when I do something, it must be respected. And there is only one
Hmm.
way to achieve that, which is to achieve the highest qualification in the world that teaches you not to be a sectorial expert, but how to validate your.
Which is why, yes, the
Contrary to the
doctorate.
popular belief that PhD makes you a sectorial expert, PhD actually teaches you how to do research. So therefore, today, which is why did Government of India approve my research? Because I came from a legacy. I worked hard enough to get that degree. And my topic was how Indian films through 60s, 70s, and 80s have created sexual objectification of Indian women, how they have contributed to that. So that was the so-called project upon that.
The other aspect of this wonderful project of yours, which you produced and directed also, Stri Desh, amazing. We are definitely going to come back and do another separate episode on. It's going to be like a tribute to women and the great power that they wield and their amazing abilities. truly. I think that's why we men, God didn't trust us to bear the pain of childbirth. It's the stronger gender, the much stronger gender, which is women, and one salutes them always. So, Ashish, I have really enjoyed my conversation with you. A lot of insights, a lot of the purity of the beating heart and the wonderful human being behind the professional have come out. And this is a guy who's actually marketing a reality space entity. But then what rescues you is that it is from the preeminent Munjal family, which is on legacy, which believes in driving profit with purpose. So, here, touch wood, but you are blessed to be where you are. And I think they are also blessed to have you with them.
Thank you very
What did you think of your chat with me, Ashish, today on MediaCast from Mediabrief?
Honestly, I mean, see, when you think of Pawan is doing something, it is, the thought of that not being anything but great does not even cross your mind. People like you are far and very very few. You've seen this industry grow. You've been part of that very fabric that created this enormous industry that we so lightly take today. The kind of hard work, it is built on the hard work of people like you. Brands, iconic brands, and the kind of respect they command came from your hard work. So I thought that, it is going to be my privilege, it is going to be my honor to be on something which I'm sure is going to be nothing but the best. And of course, I mean, you don't need my validation for that.
Ashish, you're very generous. Thank you. Really, thank you very much indeed. It's your presence that actually elevates the stature of MediaCast, and I'm truly very, very happy because the kind of width, depth, and breadth of knowledge and experience that you bring is truly peerless.
And Pawan, in fact, I wanted to add that, I've been keeping a track of what you do, the mediabrief.com. And, there's so many things that people have done. People have come, they've done their jig, and they've sort of faded away because they never got it right. I'm very proud of the fact that, I go through your stuff, I go through mediabrief.com, and it's becoming a habit that, you want to see, because I know whatever is there. There used to be a time, there used to be very few publications. You would blindly follow what they would say because you knew that this would be well researched, otherwise this would not find a mention here. So mediabrief.com is definitely, and I'm saying this again with you, humility, that you don't need my validation for it. I mean, I see the kind of work that you do. It reflects that, somebody, you can't mess around with Pawan.
Oh my
So
God, you're very kind.
I mean, it puts a great sense of responsibility, also, that, you can't take it like you can take others for granted, but not here.
Thank you ever so much, Ashish, for being on this episode of MediaCast. And Ashish, thanks also to the wonderful Adarsh Rai of Visage 11, your PR agency, your comms agency, consultants. And of course, to Venki, like I said, you handpick the best and you are in great comms hands. So thank you ever so much
Thank
for
you.
being on MediaCast.
Thank you.
Ashish Kaul, Chief Marketing Officer at Hero Realty Private Limited, the Hero enterprise business which provides luxury living with honest pricing, was my distinguished guest on this episode of MediaCast from Mediabrief.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I truly found it very insightful, and I do believe it's going to help a lot of young and senior professionals alike in the marketplace. Till we meet again in the next episode of MediaCast from Mediabrief.com, this is your host and friend Pawan Arjavla saying, take care, stay safe, bye bye.